Black screen, yeah, that's good. There we are.
There we are.
Okay, all right.
Now you can call us to order.
Well, I'll give the condensed version, just because we're recording now. So at 7:01, we, just did an intro of the FinCom meeting, but the recording wasn't started yet. So I wanna welcome everybody to today, Wednesday, July 10th of 2024. Before we get going, why don't we all, do a roll call here and introduce ourselves, and then we can dig into the agenda. So starting, with Joyce, and we'll go around the room.
Joyce Boyardi.
Jody Garson.
Jen Zarutsky.
Michael Crone.
Kathy McGinnis.
Peter?
John Moore.
Peter Underhill.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your day again. So with that said, let's dive right into the agenda. First thing we have here on the agenda are the interdepartment transfers. These seem pretty straightforward. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to take a look at them yet. But if you go to the first page here, I'm going to summarize this, but Mike Kaczynski, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. But essentially what we have here is we have the $5,304.35, which is our expenses, Finance Committee, which is the printing expenses for the warrant and the FinCom report for town meeting that we just had this past spring. The public safety, the $57,410.69 is a slightly higher amount than expected for fire wages. I believe there was an injury on the fire department, so those expenses ran slightly higher than anticipated originally. Getting down to the $45,059.61, that's for the recreation department that we approved a few meetings ago for the recreational supplies and expenses that came in higher than expected. So if we total all those out, we get $107,774.65, and that will be coming from the employee benefits department. So the health coverage expenses are lower than expected in this category under the employee benefits. Talking to Mike Kaczynski earlier. So with that, the Tufts Health Plan consolidated some of their plans and phased out some of their older, or I should say, some plans, but kept other plans. And employees were migrated into a less expensive plan for the year. So that freed up $107,000. Going in, and that usually happens with open enrollment between April 30th and May 31st. And then usually what happens in June is when the changes and updates are implemented. And then starting in July for fiscal year, in this case 2025, they go into effect. So that's the good news. I think some of the employees will be making a migration to other Tufts Health plans or other health insurance plans because some of the plans have Charles River Medical and some do not. But that is a 12-month out conversation when that happens and transfer occurs. But for the time being, the $107,000 is where it will be coming from. Does anybody have any questions on interdepartment transfers?
Mr. Chair, if I might, Kathy McGinnis.
Yes, please go ahead.
Through the chair, could I ask the town administrator about the, was it less employees, Mike? The number of employees due with layoffs or whatnot that caused, $107,000 is a nice amount of money.
Yeah, it actually, it's a combination. The chair is correct, and that certainly a large portion of this had to do with, we have to make estimates at the beginning of the year as to what plans people are going to be in. There was an unusually high amount of migration this past year across the plans because Tufts and Harvard Pilgrim actually combined. And so several of the plans disappeared. So there was a fairly large group of employees that had to choose a new plan. And we were a little conservative, and we estimated that more folks would go into the more expensive plans than actually did. And some of that is we do We do basically add in about 5 to 8 extra employees at the beginning of the year, because sometimes there are either new hires that decide to get the insurance, or there's a change in life status during the year, and people can switch if that happens. So we do that to try to reduce the chances of having to ask for a transfer mid-year. So it was a combination of those two factors that caused us to have a little bit of surplus there, which I think in the big picture is good news, but that's the explanation.
And if my last question, Mr. Chair, is just, has the select board looked into buying back from employees?
We are going to be looking into that.
Okay.
And that's going to be a discussion this fall. There's
Thank
two
you.
things we're looking at. One is we're a member of the GIC. There's about 40 municipalities in the Commonwealth that are part of the GIC, which is the state's healthcare plan. We did have a sizable increase this year. I think it was over 8% in the GIC. So we are going to be looking at whether or not we want to switch to
Yeah.
some other plan. But we have to do some research on that and have conversations with the different collective bargaining units. So we're looking at that, and we're also looking at having an opt-out program where folks that currently have insurance choose to go on their spouse's insurance. They can get a small payment from the town, which the net would be a huge savings to the
right.
town in cost. So we are going to be looking at that into the fall.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions before we turn the page? We have two other interdepartment transfers. On the first line item on the second page is water engineering services, $12,400. The town will be taking $12,400, moving those over to water wages. My understanding, again, Mike or Carol, please correct me, but this is basically an accounting ledger change versus really changing anything within the department or moving money outside the department of any kind.
That's correct. This is, at the beginning of the year, we estimate the wages in the water department, and for a number of reasons, that it went 12,400 over, but we have available funds in the water engineering services, so the bottom line in the water department is unchanged.
Mr. Chair,
Please, go ahead.
I move, if there's no further discussion, I move that we take a vote on the expenditures listed on the two sheets. The first being moving $5,304.35 to the Finance Committee for printing expenses, $57,410.69 public safety for fire shift wages, $45,059.61 culture and recreation for supplies and expenses, and that this money will come from employee benefits account in the amount of $107,774.65.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, sir.
Go ahead, Mike. All those in favor, say aye.
We need a roll call vote, Mr.
Roll call,
Chair.
We
okay,
do, okay.
all right. Joyce?
Aye.
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 7 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr.
Thank
Chair, I'd like to move that the amount of $12,400 be moved from the Water Engineering Services expense account to the Water Wages account, again in the amount of $12,400.
Second.
Let's have a vote, a roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Passes 7 votes in favor, no votes against, no abstentions.
Great, thank you very much.
So, thank you, Mike Crone, for helping out there, and thank you, Mike Kaczynski, for adding details. So moving down the list, let's see here, and I believe, is everyone passing the paper around there?
Yes,
to
yes, we are.
sign?
Yep, it's passing it around right now.
Okay. Pete Underhill, do you have the ability to electronically sign those pages?
If it's a PDF, or I can swing by the town hall tomorrow and do it, whatever's more convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah,
votes. 1, 2,
So why don't
3,
we,
5
the PDF
signatures, right?
that's on the email attachment, if you could edit that, and I'm doing the same thing. And then why don't we send that back to Mike Kaczynski?
You got it, I'll do it right now.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to the next line item. Bills payable. Go through my PDF here as well. So, the first bill payable is, the following bills that the finance committee had was $129.86 for Gannett New England Local IQ, which is the advertising fee for town meeting. This is usually a standard expense that we usually have for both the spring and the fall. Mike Crone, if you wanna take it for discussion and voting from here, that would be great.
I move that the amount of $129.86 be appropriated for advertising in the Finance Committee budget.
Second.
Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's 7-0, with no abstentions in favor of appropriating the $129.86. The second one, would you like to get into clear government, or you want me to talk about it?
If you wanna run with it, that's fine, go ahead, Mike.
I have no idea what it's for. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
No, it's software. Yeah, I know, yeah.
okay, so.
No.
Clear government, that's like one of those
It's the software.
oxymorons.
Yeah, it's the software.
Yeah, it was $6,010, and this was for ClearGov Inc., which is the website that puts all of the Millis financial and town data available online, so when you're looking at a Millis or comparing towns and seeing what the data looks like, that's what this annual amount is for.
Okay.
Why do you open up for discussion first?
All right, any discussion on this item?
I think at some point, we should
go ahead.
discuss the usefulness of this. You know, I don't think it's been used the way it had been intended way back when. The idea that we had, you know, for how useful it would be was good, but I just don't see that it has kind of kept, it hasn't been updated like it should be. It hasn't been as robust as I thought it would be. So I think that's a discussion that we should have with the select board at some point, whether we keep paying for this service.
Is this the data that is placed on the internet which relates to town finances and tax records and so forth, or?
It's like, it helps compare with other towns.
Okay.
So it does take Millis data, which gets uploaded, and there's a lot of school data as well. And it's supposed to allow it to be, you know, comparing to other localities that are close to us and municipalities that are similar and all of that. But, you know, it was gonna be the greatest thing since sliced bread when, you know, it was first decided to get this program, and I just haven't. The data is there, the information's there if you want it. Who is using it? Who is accessing it? That's, you know, it's $6,000. Is it really providing $6,000 worth of value? I guess that's my big question. And that's for someone to answer, not me.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, thank you. I'll jump in. Thank you, Jody. So I totally hear you on 6,000, and that price tag does go up quite a bit each year. If it continues to go up at a large percentage rate, then I could see potentially dropping it. The one thing that I do like about it, and you know, Millis is a great town, and my opinion is it adds transparency. So as the town and town administrators go through their job and produce the numbers and data and push it out, and yes, it goes to the state level too, this acts, in my opinion, that it's just another layer of what's Millis doing. And, you know, not that I'm comparing it, but you know, what Canton's going through right now is just it's just a way for us to say, this is what we're doing with the town, whether that's population, whether it's school, whether it's finance, et cetera. So that's why I think it's a great thing at this point in time. But I would agree that we should have the select board evaluate it if it continues to go up.
Yeah. I just don't like approving something without discussing it, you know, when it's thousands of dollars, you know, coming out of taxpayer funds.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I can remember the sales
Yeah.
pitch that was made for this, and there were a couple of really slick characters that came in, and they could have sold anything, I think. You need this, and I've never been on it, and I was gonna go by what Jody said, but it appears that there are people that are using it, so maybe I'll venture into it someday.
One thing I would like to point out is when this was purchased, we weren't producing the big annual budget book, which has provided a huge amount of transparency from where we had been. You know, it's enormous and it's a lot for people to sift through, but that level of information wasn't being prepared, it wasn't compiled, it wasn't easily accessible when this program was first
Started, yeah.
purchased. So
Yeah.
I think as a town, we're doing a lot better at trying to provide information, not just in raw data form, but in a digestible way. I think we can always continue to do better and to try to make things more accessible to people who, unlike us, will spend hours reviewing every town, you know, every budget that, for every department. So we just continue to review it and see if it is providing us the value that we want.
Agreed, I think that's a fair point. If Millis overall on the website and the annual budget is published and easily accessible, then perhaps we don't need it, so I would agree with that.
Last year's right there.
Any other discussion? All right. Then I move that we pay the sum of $6,010 for ClearGov software.
Second.
This has
I'll let
been
Joyce second
seconded.
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? There being none opposed, it passes 7-0, no abstentions.
Thank you, Mike. So it looks like the next item is to approve the Finance Committee meeting minutes from May 1st, 2024, and May 7th, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I move
Yes.
that we approve the minutes of May 7th. May 7th.
May 1st and 7th. Are we going to do them both together?
First and 7th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I move that we approve the minutes from May 1st, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
never mind.
Okay. All right.
I was going
Any
to
discussion?
approve.
There being no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any opposed? And I will abstain as I was not at the meeting. So 6-0.
Mr. Chair, now I will ask you if we can approve the minutes of May 7th.
Second.
Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And I will abstain as I was not at that meeting either. It passes 6-0.
That's why they went quickly.
Deirdre, we're going to leave the sheet. Do you want us to leave the sheets here for the appropriations, or do you want us to bring them somewhere?
Right, so if you could just leave the, you all signed the bills payable?
Yes, we signed them all. You want us,
Okay,
you want us
so
to
then, yeah, that's great.
just leave them here on the desk? Okay.
Yep, I'll get them tomorrow morning.
All right. Thank you, Deirdre.
If your office is open, I can bring it down to your office.
No, it's not.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
All right, now that we've done the minutes, any board or committee liaison updates? Are there any liaison updates? I don't have any. Does anybody else have any? I want to talk about some old and new business in a moment, but
I have an update for the
Okay,
senior
sure.
center. They're working on programs, improving, their outlook is positive. They're driving the new car, which is apparently quite the prize. It's a very nice vehicle, and they're enjoying it quite well, using it often. And as I say, they're looking forward to more programming. They've got a slew of new programs started. So it would be great for more people to come down and see. It's really, it's hopping.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Jo-
Okay.
Jody has something to
Anyone
say.
else? before-
Yep,
Go
Jody.
ahead.
John, you wanted an update on the MBTA 3A
Yes.
committee, our
Yeah,
progress?
why don't we shift gears into the old and new business? So go ahead, Jody. Why don't you take it away on MBTA updates?
So we're calling it the multifamily overlay district now, because no one's going to remember what MBTA 3A, advisory committee means and all of that. So we've done a lot of work. We have what we think is a pretty good map that more or less designates the Stony Brook area and the GAF area for higher density multifamily zoning. That should suffice in terms of the state requirements, and as well as fitting what a lot of Millis residents have indicated that they want in terms of development of those sites, or redevelopment, as the case may be. So right now, a few weeks ago, we met with the planning board, and they have recommended to send it to the select board. So that should be discussed at their meeting on the 15th, I believe, to see if they are wanting to recommend it for public hearing at the planning board in September. So once the planning board recommends it, it goes back to the state for review. And then they may have other revisions that they need to make. We'll be waiting on that and trying to kind of move it through our town process to vote on it at November town meeting, because December 31st is our deadline from the state to implement this zoning change. But I think, the work that we've done with the committee, with MEPC, has something that isn't going to be too terribly out of character with the town, and gives the potential for developers to develop slightly more dense multifamily in areas that are underserved or ripe for redevelopment. It's not going to put it in small neighborhoods. It's not going to be displacing, single-family homes, particularly our naturally occurring affordable housing that is kind of on the very bottom of the list of what we would want to do. We want to preserve our naturally occurring affordable housing in town, for the sake of our children who might want to buy a house someday. All of that. We're not trying to change the character of the town, but we're trying to comply with what the state has required. So we've done good work. Look at the website. It has the updated zoning, and you can look for more materials in the select board's packet for the July 15 meeting and the planning board's September 10th meeting. And as well as we as a committee will be coming out with more information as well.
And Jody, that link, the MBTA link is on the Millis website, correct?
It is. I think we're called the MBTA 3A Advisory Committee. If you click on that, it should have our most recent documents, and we've been trying to keep that updated as best we can while Bob was out for a while.
So not to totally make this into a discussion of MBTA, but generally speaking, there's been a few towns, Milton and a few others, that have voted against it, but generally speaking, it's a good thing at this point. Would you agree with that, or as it develops?
No.
It has the potential to be a good thing. It has the potential to
Okay.
take tax parcels and increase their taxable base.
Yeah.
you know, you ask 5 people and they'll give you 5 different opinions on it. What it's not going to do is instantly create new housing in Millis. All it is a zoning overlay that allows more flexibility from developers who would be willing to come in and do larger scale multifamily housing. And it's not an imperative for anyone to build multifamily housing. It's just the zoning that will allow that under certain conditions.
I think that's the important distinction, too. A lot of people think that by passing or by designating these areas, that automatically the town is going to develop them. The town has nothing to do with developing them. If a private individual wants to come in and build an apartment complex there, they can. And under 40B, they pretty much usually could anyway. This just would allow the town to start selecting where and when where these places could be. And to that extent, I think it's a good thing, because it gives the town more control than 40B did. 40B gives the town very little control as to where, large developments could be built.
Right.
But this does.
And it's only, it's limited parcels here that we're talking. So it's not going to be multiple parcels spread throughout Millis. It's pretty concentrated, on either side of 109, down by Stony Brook and the GAF site, and we've tried to keep it very tight there.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll be hearing more from you, as well as we can dive into it a little bit more as we kind of roll through the summer and into the fall and as planning board meets. But to your point, though, most likely, or 100%, it will most likely be voted on at the November town meeting, though, because 12/31 of '24 is the deadline, correct?
If we do not pass multifamily zoning by 12/31, we'll be out of compliance with the state.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make
Yes, go
mention,
ahead.
in October, the first week in October, the Supreme Judicial Court is hearing arguments as to the legality and constitutionality of this statute, so things may change. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Well, thank you for mentioning that. Okay, makes sense.
we are proceeding with that understanding that this law has changed a lot since it was implemented rather hastily. And so the way that we have worded things is, should things change, then this overlay district would also change or not be implemented. So, I know,
Okay.
doing the best we can.
All the time invested in, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that update, Jody. So on that note, let me mention a couple of things here. So town meeting, as it states on the agenda there, so right now, November 14th, I believe, is the targeted date. I don't think that has been confirmed yet, but as of now, that should be going in everybody's calendar, November 14th, for town meeting. And then I believe the town administrator is confirming dates with our town council and others as well.
That's a Thursday.
It is, and I believe that the select board did vote on that.
Okay? Look at my calendar.
Town council was unavailable on the other Tuesday. I believe that's what
And
was
then
stated.
there's the presidential election, so
Veterans
they
Day.
didn't want to do it Tuesday, so they chose Thursday.
They were talking about a Saturday,
As far as I've
maybe.
been told from the town clerk,
What, do
or
you,
the assistant town clerk.
Mr. Chair, there had been
Yes.
discussion about having a Saturday meeting. What's happened with that?
I haven't heard any formal discussion of having it on a Saturday, besides just discussion. Are you referring to something else that I don't know?
Well, the last time, I had messaged the board previously for the last meeting, and apparently it may have gone somewhere into the ozone, to be able to have a Saturday meeting. and, which did not happen for our spring. And that at one of their board meetings, I brought it up, and they said that they would visit that. So I'm wondering why it hasn't been visited. I think that a Saturday would bring a good turnout. I know that there are parents who have kids, but they have to get babysitters at night too if they have kids. So, and the seniors tend to have a harder time getting out than, because they don't want to go out at night. So it would be nice to be able to have a Saturday. We had it once
Okay,
before.
Yeah, I don't know if it went any further or not, but I will definitely follow up for you, Joyce. With
Thank
the
you.
select board to see if it was discussed or not.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yep. On that note, so shifting gears a little bit, so I actually want to welcome Joyce as well as Peter Berube, even though he's not here. They their terms came up and they wish to stay on the FinCom, Finance Committee, and Brutus Canareggi, the town moderator, formally reappointed both of them to the Finance Committee. So it looks like we still have the original team in place right now.
When will the orientation class be for them?
It's a good question.
When are you scheduling it?
So another topic I just wanted to bring up, in meeting past, probably at the beginning of the year, there's discussion of doing a reorg of when we actually start our positions, chair, vice chair, clerk, to coincide with the fiscal year versus the calendar year. And there's nothing that we need to do right now, but if we did want to do that, first of all, I'd want to double check the procedures and guidelines that we have to abide by as a committee. And if it makes sense, have the discussion probably in December or January, and then vote on it if we want to change it to coincide with the fiscal year, which I'm fine with. I think there's merits to doing that. Besides having a busy last 6 months for me and an override, it could go either way, in my opinion. But does anyone have any 30,000-foot thoughts on that as of right now? But we can have a further discussion later in December, January if we want to.
Well, it makes perfect sense to do it fiscal year versus the mid-year. It just makes sense.
I was the troublemaker who brought it up, but in other towns, I think they do it that way only because it doesn't, what my argument was, it doesn't start someone in the middle of the budget season,
Right.
which can be difficult, so.
Yeah, I would support it too. I think it makes a lot more sense. Things are a lot quieter through the fall, and rather than throwing someone into like full-on budget season, at least if you've had a fall town meeting to kind of get your feet wet with how this stuff works, then I think is a lot better for new folks coming in to ramp up to understand as well as any of us can how, what's going on and how town finance works.
Fair enough. All good comments. So let me do a little research on what our procedures are so we abide by them, and then I'll put that on my to-do list as we kind of enter that time frame so we can revisit it and make changes as a committee.
Sounds good.
Last couple items I have here, these interdepartment transfers were kind of the last things that we need to do for fiscal year 2024. There's pretty much going to be no need for any meetings in July and August, so I would anticipate our Finance Committee meetings starting up sometime post-Labor Day. When that is, I would say communication will go out as we get closer to that time frame. Okay?
Yep.
And then last, I'm disappointed Carol left already, but that might have been her last Finance Committee attending. As some or most of you know, she will be retiring she's in this transition period, bringing on the new finance director, Jody, who was finance director in Mendon, and I believe they're trying to get things done and finalizing things for the transfer and transition to occur. So I know that she's been, just want to put it on record, even though she's not there, that she's been working with the town of Millis for about 6 years. And I know she's been very involved with the finance committee and providing proper financial guidance along the way, both for the committee and prior chairs, and even for myself for the last 6 to 7 months or so. So we wish her the best as she turns the page into the retirement chapter.
Yeah, she indicated that that probably won't happen until September, and then she'll still be part-time guiding the person through a bit longer. So we may still see her, but yeah, I agree.
Exactly. So, perfect. Any other thoughts or comments before we wrap things up?
Mr. Chair, of course.
Yeah?
Has there been any
Go ahead.
discussion about a tri-board meeting? Because the documents that were sent to us by the state recommended that there be 5 a year. And we just had an override issue, the SPED funding, you know, what's going on with that. Is there an opportunity for the Finance Committee to ask some of these questions of the 2 other boards and share some ideas or something before, 5 minutes before the vote for an override?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm going by memory here, so I could be wrong. But I know that in the select board policies and procedures, they have scheduled 2 tri-board meetings a year. And I don't know if the state says 5 or not. But I can reach out to the select board and see what their thoughts are at this point in time.
Well, last fall, Mr. Chair, there was the Department of Local Services, DLS, through the Commonwealth. We received like a 25-page document of practices that were recommended, and it was emphasized the great discussions that are had amongst the board members for updates on revenue. I think it's really important now that, especially what's going on with I don't have to tell this board what's going on financially or anything, but I'd like to sit across the table and ask a few questions of people, if I might, or do we just go to their meetings, I suppose, but no one ever allows you to speak.
Yeah, Kathy, I agree with you. I will reach out to select board and find out more details, and we'll circle back with you. I think those tri-board meetings are good for the town of Millis because it brings everybody together and allows discussion points to be made. But I'll find out when the next one is, and then we can go from there, though. But I think they're gonna be even more important because of the financial obstacles coming down the road, whether that be, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe the next override, whatever that may be, the school building, the tri-county, et cetera. I think all these things are big ticket items, and the more we talk about them, the more we can, as a whole and as a town, be on the same page as much as possible going forward.
Mr. Chair, do you think it's appropriate that I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend to the Select Board and to the School Committee that time be set aside for a important tri-board meeting? Second?
Second.
I would say, let me find out first, and see
You're
what
the
the
chair.
select board is.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't know if anyone has any other comments, feel free to jump in.
I just think it's an excellent, I think it's very important. There's too much going on in this town not to be connected more, not to connect with these boards
The
more
public.
often.
Yeah.
Right, for the public. And I think that Kathy has a very good, I think her suggestion is right on. We've got too many
Yep.
expenses. And it just keeps everybody accountable, and knowledge, information is key.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I would definitely recommend that or appreciate if you could push for a tri-board meeting more in September versus having one in, you know, late October when we've already, you know, heard most of
Early
what's going
September.
on. Like,
Yes.
it would be great if it could be, you know, well, early September I know is a little bit tough for the school committee, but like before, like around September 15th, even if it was, you know, like first couple weeks of September would be ideal.
Good, yep.
So we could hear, you know, how things are looking for the school department, what we're looking at for fall town meeting, and what things are shaping up to be for the next fiscal year. To get as much of a heads up as we can, the more we can see into the future and kind of know where revenues are headed for the town, the better informed we'll be to be making recommendations when it comes to town meeting.
Totally agree. I'm on it. Let me, see if I can ask some questions and find out if we get something on the books during that timeline.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah?
And also, Mr. Chair, not to bug you again, but I am looking for detailed expenses on the enterprise funds that we discussed,
Okay.
and especially as to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
expenses for snow and ice removal to the water accounts.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a great.
Maybe a
point.
motion requesting that?
Oh, you got it.
No, I'll let you get it, though. Go.
I'll, I'll say that did go dormant. I'll take partial blame for that during the town meeting, but let's rekindle that and get some answers for you.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Anything else? Anybody else?
If there's
Thank
nothing
you, Mr.
else,
Chair.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll
Second.
Take the town meeting, it's gonna second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
All right.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Right on time.
everybody.
All right,
Bye-bye,
Good night,
TV
John.
land.
take care.